When I was 5 years old, for some reason I asked my dad, how far can you go in wrestling? And he said, you could be an Olympic champion. That's the pinnacle in wrestling. And at 5 years old, I said, well, that's what I want to do. And, never really changed my mind. Of course, didn't train intently when I was 5 years old, but that was when people asked what I wanted to do, that was always it. Yeah, as a seventh grader, I think I was 21 wins and 20 losses. So, just barely over 500. And a little small for the weight class, but great experience. But it taught me a lot about staying out of bad positions. It was so important to stay in good positions because the guys were bigger, older, stronger, and so I had to really learn the technical aspect of the sport, and that was the beginning of really learning that side of the sport. I won my first state championship in 8th grade, and that was a great feeling. It was one of the goals that I'd had for my career. And being from a small town, we'd never had a state champion in wrestling or in any other sport in the school's history. So to win that in 8th grade was really quite an accomplishment and very exciting. That year started out pretty good. My coach made a few comments to me early in the practice season, and for some reason I just stuck to those comments. And one of the comments was, if you work this hard all the way through, you're going to be a state champion. And I just hung on to that and began to believe it, and started to have some success and some victories, and skill went up, confidence went up, and results were kind of coming in. The thing that was so exciting to me about wrestling was the endless possibilities of positions in wrestling, and not only understanding my own body position, but understanding what my opponent's body position was like. And so there's always the offense, there's always the defense, and there's so many variables. And just trying to master all those variables was endless, and I just liked that pursuit. Yeah, I started competing internationally when I was 13 at the Cadet World Championships, and wrestled at the Junior World Championships as a high schooler, and then made 3 world teams, made an Olympic team. And really my whole goal from the beginning was to be an Olympic champion in wrestling. So all of the events leading up to that were really stepping stones and sort of preparation for the ultimate, the ultimate goal of being in the Olympics. I did make it to the Olympics in 2000 and won a bronze medal there. It was a great moment. Of course, it was a great disappointment. You go there wanting to win a gold medal, and things happen quickly sometimes. And in wrestling, there's just all sports at that level. There's no room to make mistakes, and so. But I was able to win a bronze medal, and a wise individual told me that the medal gets brighter with age, and it does. So I think the hard work is a big piece of it. God obviously gave me a pretty unique ability to wrestle, and it gave me a passion to pursue it. Without both, you need the ability and you need the passion, and God was good enough to give me both, and I really went after it, and I loved every second of it. And I think that's a big component of it too. That is, it was never drudgery, it was never sacrifice, it was always, this is exactly what I want to be doing, and I loved every minute of it. Wrestling at Iowa is such a unique experience. When I came here in 1992, there were world champions, there were Olympic champions that were training in the room every day, and have the opportunity to work out and learn from those guys. That doesn't happen anywhere else in the world, at least that I knew of at that time. So the opportunity here, the best coach in the world, Coach Dan Gable, provided a platform where I felt if I was going to be successful, this was definitely it. And I recall, even as a freshman in college, thinking about the NCAA wrestling tournament and how tough it might be, but how easy it seemed compared to our wrestling room here. I knew that nobody at the NCAAs was going to be as tough as the world champions I was competing against in our room. So really a great confidence booster going into those events, knowing that no one is better prepared because of your training partners and the whole situation here at Iowa. I won 3 NCAA championships. I won as a freshman, as a sophomore, and then as a junior I was a runner-up. And then I redshirted my 4th year of college, and then came back my 5th year and won a 3rd national championship. So, of course my goal was to win 4, and I came up a little bit short. But, really a great experience. It was similar to high school. The first one was really special, and then, it should have gotten a little easier, and it didn't necessarily. The competitive level in college Division I sports is very high. And whereas in high school, after you win a couple state championships, the best wrestlers begin to avoid your weight class because they'd like to win also, and that doesn't happen in college. They come after you. So good lesson for me in losing that as a junior was that you need to be prepared and be the one that's going after something rather than protecting something. And I remember looking at Ed Bannock. Where's Ed Bannock at? Thinking to myself, how could you win as a freshman, a sophomore, and then not win as a junior, and then win as a senior again? But then that happened to me too, so it can happen. Once I learned the most valuable thing that an athlete can do to enhance their skills is to teach those skills. And there's just so many benefits to that. You know, being involved with camps and clinics, you're able to influence the next generation, you know, personally, relationally, obviously in their sport. But I didn't really realize the benefit that I would get out of that. But when I learned to break down the skills, the techniques, the strategies, the direction, and all those things that wrestling technique takes place, I really got a lot better. I miss it, you know, but like the last time I did it, my neck hurt for almost a year, so I don't miss that. You know, one of the funnier things that happened when I was at Iowa, I came off the mat, I think we were wrestling Minnesota, and you know, I just got done with a difficult match, and I was sweating and breathing heavy, and our 177-pounder at the time, who was a little eccentric, he comes up to me and he's kind of looking at me, he says, "Hey, good job," and I said, "Thanks." And he said, kind of rubs his chin, he said, "Hey, can I borrow your singlet?" And I said, "Yeah, Ray, you can borrow my singlet." So, you know, it's just soaked wet. I take my singlet off and I give it to him, and I'm in the training room standing there just in my briefs, and he's still looking at me, and he says, "Can I borrow your briefs too?" So he wanted to borrow my underwear to wrestle in, to which I said no. I have a lot of great memories from high school. You know, we had a very well organized, very disciplined coach, and I enjoyed the practices that he ran. I don't know that everybody enjoyed those practices, but he would let us know and communicate, here's what practice is going to be. So some guys would pace themselves, but you know, others of us would use that as an opportunity to maximize everything in the practice. And so that's probably one of my greatest joys was practice and wrestling. This is one of the greatest honors in sports. It's really neat to be regarded by others and to be just to be considered amongst some of the great ones in the various sports. So really a very cool deal. I'm proud to be in it.